Okay, picture this. It's 1947, and someone asks you, straight up, are you a member of the Communist Party? For a lot of people in Hollywood and, across America back then, that wasn't just some random question. It was terrifyingly real. It was a threat that really kicked off the whole Hollywood Blacklist era. I mean, a time when careers, lives just got completely turned upside down by accusations, by fear. So our mission today in this deep dive is to unpack that, the huge impact, the legacy of this really significant moment in American history. We're looking at some really interesting stuff from a new exhibit, actually, at the New York Historical Society. It gives us a fresh way to look at Hollywood's Red Scare.
Absolutely. And, while Hollywood is the focus, it's so much bigger than that. The exhibit does a great job showing this isn't just about movies. It's fundamental stuff, questions about our rights, freedom, and frankly, the power of fear, how it can just shape everything. It touches on things we're still grappling with, really. Makes you think about the broader picture.
So where did it all start? How did this blacklist actually, come into being? Well, the spark was lit in 1947. The House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC, they launched this investigation, and they zoomed right in on Hollywood. The committee chair was a Republican congressman, John Parnell Thomas from New Jersey. Their first target, this group called the Hollywood 10 writers, directors, pretty prominent folks, and the charge against them, it sounds almost simple, but loaded, making movies that espouse the communist point of view. How UAC targets Hollywood, targets the 10. What happened right after they refused to cooperate? What was the committee really after here?
Right. That refusal, it wasn't just being difficult. It was a direct challenge, and the consequences were immediate and severe. The exhibit lays this out really powerfully. They were cited for contempt of Congress, sentenced to prison, 6 months to a year, and maybe the biggest blow professionally. Blacklisted. Studio execs just shut them out completely. But, and this is key, their stand, even though it cost them so much personally, it sort of became this act of resistance. Their story, which the exhibit tells, it kind of foreshadowed how HUAC's power would eventually start to crumble. It showed dissent was possible, even then.
Yeah, it's one thing to say blacklist, but the actual human cost. Ann Leslie, she is an assistant curator at the Historical Society. She put it starkly. She said creatives essentially forfeited their privacy and their right to their own political ideas and affiliations. Can you give us a sense of what that pressure actually felt like for someone like Dalton Trumbo, one of the 10? He did 10 months in prison. I mean, the exhibit has these drawings and letters from his 5-year-old daughter, Mitzi, sent while he was locked up. Just heartbreaking.
Oh, absolutely heartbreaking. And that personal cost you mentioned, it got even worse. There's this intense pressure, this demand to name names.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough to just answer for yourself. You had to implicate others. And a lot of people, creatives trying to salvage their careers, their reputations, they felt they had to do it. They felt compelled. It created this awful climate of fear and betrayal within the industry. People forced to choose conscience or career.
And it's kind of staggering who got involved. You had figures like Walt Disney. He actually testified before the committee, famously. His reasons, apparently he really objected to labor organizing efforts at his studios, blamed it on communists. And then there's Ronald Reagan. He was president of the Screen Actors Guild back then. So it wasn't just straight politics, was it? Yeah. How did all these different fears, political, economic, maybe just fear of change, kind of merge into this powerful anti-communist wave?
You're spot on. It was way more tangled than just politics. Reagan's role is interesting here. He didn't publicly name names, but he did give names to the committee's investigator privately.
Yeah.
And he very much endorsed the whole anti-communist crusade. It shows how deep this stuff ran. And the blacklist, it wasn't just movie people. It hit others hard, too. Think about Hazel Scott. Incredible talent. Classically trained pianist, the first black entertainer with her own nationally syndicated TV show. Her show got canceled. Why? Her name just appeared in some anti-communist pamphlet. That's it. Her story really drives home how flimsy the reasons could be, how quickly a career could just be derailed no matter who you were.
Yeah, and it's so important to stress this wasn't just Hollywood. The Red Scare cast a much wider net. Lots of ordinary Americans got swept up in it. Members of labor unions, high school teachers, college professors, they all faced scrutiny. And then you had publications like Red Channels, almost like an official blacklist bulletin, and listed detailed info on all sorts of creatives. And the scary part, just having your name appear in there, that was offer enough. Boom, you're blacklisted.
It is chilling. Just a mention could end everything. But, even that kind of power starts to wear thin eventually. And Dalton Trumbo, actually, played a part in that shift after prison.
Yes.
He's blacklisted, right? He can't work under his own name, but he keeps writing. He uses pseudonyms. And get this, he writes 2 screenplays that win Academy Awards. The Brave One and Roman Holiday, under fake names. It took ages, though. Something like 4 decades. Yeah. about that, before the Academy Awards officially gave him the credit. And that moment, that public recognition, was seen as a big deal. Like, okay, the committee's power isn't absolute anymore. A crack in the wall. By the 60s, the whole Red Scare thing was fading. The blacklist lost its teeth. And HUAC itself, they finally abolished it in 1975. The end of that specific, very intense chapter.
So we've gone through this really intense period. Looking back now, after this deep dive, what does it all mean for us today? What are the big takeaways?
Well, that period, especially the blacklist, it really forces some critical questions on us about protecting democracy, especially when fear takes hold. Ann Leslie from the exhibit framed it really well. It makes you think hard about defending basic freedoms, freedom of speech especially. And it leaves us with this question, one that honestly feels just as relevant now. If you hold unpopular views, maybe even views people find offensive, should you be punished for them? Should you lose your job? These aren't easy questions, right? No simple answers. But they're definitely questions we should still be wrestling with, thinking about, long after that specific scare ended. Something for you to continue your own deep dive on, really.